Around a century ago, an ancient secret organization was said to have discovered giants in a state of suspended animation inside remote underground chambers. The sleeping creatures looked dead, but they were just resting inside stasis chambers, waiting to be awakened from their deep sleep. Sounds interesting. Unfortunately, there is no physical evidence to support these claims. But the man who revealed this supposed secret, Corey Goode, stands by his statements. Corey Goode is the co-host of one of Gaia's original shows, Cosmic Disclosure. Before that, he was part of a secret space program and other undisclosed agencies, which allowed him to gain access to these kinds of information. He said that during his time in the secret space program, about 1987 to 2007, he came across an innovation called smart glass pads while browsing a unique digital encyclopedia similar to Wikipedia. He found out that these glass pads were used to house sleeping giants called Anunnaki, and there are lots of them hidden all over the world. Wow, that's quite an ambitious claim. The Wikipedia-like database is also interesting. It was said to be an archive of technological information, also including details on alien life and Earth's history. Agents in the space program allegedly use the system to learn more about the things they are dealing with every workday. Just imagine the amount of secret information stored in this system. So, these stasis chambers were first built by ancient builders, and that the hibernating Anunnaki can be the last of their kind. At the time of their demise, this civilization possessed advanced skills that led to amazing inventions. Now, they are asleep, waiting for a grand comeback. The thing is, there is no proof, making people think that the story is a hoax. Just look at UFOs and the US government. Once in a while, photos and videos would be leaked, assumed by many as fakes. After quite some time, the government suddenly releases a statement and confirms that those are authentic. Just recently, top Pentagon officials admitted to actually investigating unidentified flying objects. There's no admittance of extraterrestrial existence, but they are investigating it. But this one, it's strange. It never surfaced in the news. It's an incredibly shocking discovery that would have made headlines all over the world, whether it's the 1900s or 2020s. There are no witnesses too. Goode pointed out that Abraham Lincoln himself funded these stasis chambers in the US. He said Lincoln even mentioned it when he visited Niagara Falls and made a speech in 1848. The exact lines the then president mentioned was, "The eyes of that species of extinct giants, whose bones fill the mounds of America, have gazed on Niagara, as ours do now." However, going through the entire speech, it appears that Lincoln was referring not to giants in stasis chambers, but to the mastodon and mammoth that once graced Niagara. So, this speech doesn't count as evidence. No evidence, just questions. What happened to the chambers and the creatures inside them? Where are they now? Still sleeping, or finally back to life in an isolated, vast territory? The technology to survive the test of time is something that humans dream of having one day. But according to Goode, this science has been with us for thousands of years already. The preservation of life forms has always been the goal of many scientists in the past years. From time to time, we see humans and animals found frozen in ice, preserved, and not damaged by the extreme temperature. It's called cryonics, and it's very much possible. However, it wasn't until the 1950s that this technology started to develop. Cryopreservation technology was first applied to human material in 1954. It just started in the 1950s, not hundreds or thousands of years ago. 3 previously frozen sperms resulted in a successful artificial insemination process and 3 pregnancies. In the years before that, only small animals like hamsters were preserved as part of experiments. This eventually led to the concept of cryonics, or cryosleep, the low-temperature preservation of a dead human body, with the hope that one day it can be restored to life, fully healthy. It involves placing the corpse in liquid nitrogen and cooling the corpse down to -200 Celsius. There were several attempts to make this a lasting reality, emphasis on the term lasting. In the 1970s, about 6 private companies tried to take on the job, but most of them couldn't cover the fixed cost of preserving bodies in the long run, eventually leading to bankruptcy. The reality is, companies eventually ran out of money and the preserved bodies were thawed and disposed of. More and more people want their bodies to get preserved soon, but economic reality forbids cryonics corporations to continue their businesses long enough to take advantage of the long-term benefits offered. You see, there is a lot of work involved in running this kind of business. There are countless hours of research involved. They need to pay people and basically run an entire facility dedicated to complex science. It's not easy, and it's taboo. It's quite impossible to have these kinds of facilities to operate all over the world, most especially about 100 years ago, let's say in the 1920s. It's not even easy for the most progressive companies and first world nations to host this kind of initiative. For these facilities to operate, the chambers must be monitored once in a while. Operating stasis chambers isn't just about pressing on and off buttons. Stasis chambers, also known as stasis tanks, are pods that place a person into suspended animation. We often see these coffin-shaped devices in movies used by scientists to preserve life. Usually, they do it in critically injured or terminally ill people until experts can find solutions to improve their conditions. Stasis tanks suspend all disease processes and cellular activities, keeping the patient from succumbing to their injuries for an indefinite period. We have seen many characters wake up from decades-long slumber with just one press of a button or when their names are called. Probably the most popular examples are Captain America and his best friend Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier. But how plausible is that in real life? It's possible, but it's not like the preserved body can just spring back to life anytime. This is science, not magic. Rather than planning for a Lazarus-like resurrection, proponents of this technology focus more on saving a person's stored memories and maybe incorporating them into robots. In cryonics, the procedure can only start once the patients are clinically dead. A dead human can't be reanimated after undergoing the process, as this causes damage to the brain, including its neural networks. It can be done by freezing with cryoprotectant to lessen ice damage, or by vitrification to prevent ice damage. Though, even by using the best methods, cryopreservation can be damaging. Even with advanced scientific processes, it is irreversible. The first person that was cryopreserved was Dr. James Bedford, a University of California professor who died of kidney cancer in 1967. His last wish was to be put into a cryochamber, and of course, his family obliged. He hoped that someday, doctors will be able to bring him back to life. He was frozen by a small team of doctors hours after he died. His body was placed in an insulated container packed with dry ice, and soon after, immersed in liquid nitrogen in a large container. Throughout the years, his body was moved from one facility to another. Today, he rests in the Alcor Life Extension Foundation facility in Scottsdale, Arizona. Dr. Bedford made history. He was the first person to be cryopreserved. Sadly, until now, experts haven't found the technology to fully resurrect him, full of life and in good health. His body needs to wait for decades more before he can go back to life, Lazarus style. The mainstream scientific community is skeptical of cryonics. It is generally viewed as pseudoscience, and for them, something that should only be explored in science fiction movies. However, it's still a dream for many experts. Now, there are around 300 cryopreserved individuals in the United States, 50 in Russia, and thousands more have made arrangements for the cryopreservation of their bodies. The number of people choosing to sign up is increasing year after year. If you're interested, it's best to prepare for it as early as now. Cryonics can be so expensive. As of 2018, the cost of preparing and storing bodies ranges from $28,000 to $200,000 US. Today, only Russia and the United States are the only countries with facilities that offer cryopreservation services for humans. Cryopreservation facilities are complex properties that can't just end up in caves or underground. It's even more impossible to find one in every corner of the world. But we can't just move forward and forget about it. There are still other intriguing details left to be discussed. cryopreservation or cryosleep is not the most interesting part of the story. It's the Anunnaki, the entities which were said to have been preserved. The Anunnaki are deities worshipped by the Sumerians. They are the totality of the Sumerian pantheon, from those who reigned in heaven, haunted the netherworld, lived on earth, and so on. For traditional scholars, they are nothing but myths. For conspiracy theorists and alien believers, they are extraterrestrials, the most powerful deities in the Sumerian pantheon with alien strength and powers. The Anunnaki is actually the subject of Zecharia Sitchin's ancient astronaut theory. Sitchin is an American author known for his fringe theories, and his ancient astronaut theory shouldn't be taken lightly. In his 1976 book, The 12th Planet and its Sequels, he attributed the existence of the Sumerian culture to the Anunnaki, which he said was an alien race from Nibiru, a planet beyond Neptune's orbit. He said that the Anunnaki arrived here thousands of years ago looking for gold, which they eventually started mining in Africa. The Anunnaki miners were said to be so displeased with the slow working conditions, so they decided to engineer human DNA and Anunnaki DNA to create stronger, more productive slaves. The result? Homo sapiens, us, mankind as we know it. We are aliens, or part alien. We are their descendants. We may have evolved independently, but much of our knowledge, tradition, and religion came from our ancient extraterrestrial visitors, our mother culture. Sitchin is also certain that aliens made contact with humans back in prehistoric times. Also, part of his ancient astronaut hypothesis is the claim that most, if not all, deities from all our religions are of extraterrestrial origin. They gave humans advanced technologies and incredible knowledge, the very reason why the Sumerians were able to come up with such exceptional inventions. This idea is not taken seriously by most academics, but people still listened. Sitchin's books have sold millions of copies worldwide and have been translated into around 20 languages. Now, going back to Corey Good's story, he was telling us that somewhere, extraterrestrial gods are resting in stasis chambers, waiting to be awakened, and that they are giants? So they came back, captured by humans, and now they are the last of their kind. Conspiracy theory or not, the connection between the sleeping giant story and ancient astronaut theory is fascinating. It's like we're in a historical and science fiction movie. Cryonics is an interesting and thought-provoking matter too. I have to ask you this. Would you ever want to cryopreserve your body and have the chance to someday live again? If not the Lazarus-style resurrection, maybe just revive your memory or have it read by a robot or something in the far future. I know it's expensive, but just in case you have the money, or a company will offer it for free, will you do it? Feel free to comment your answer down below. We'll end this video now, but I'll be reading your answers in the comment section. This is going to be an amusing discussion. Also, if you have other topics in mind that you think would be amazing to tackle in the upcoming videos, comment that as well. I hope you enjoyed watching this episode. If you liked it, please consider hitting the subscribe and like button. I'll see you guys next time. Oh, and don't forget to click the notification bell to get notified each time we upload a new video. That's 3 times a week. Bye.